Hey kids, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We have a Squire Telecaster on the bench today, and we're doing a little bit of work for him. He's changing out the saddles. He wants to put brass saddles on it. A little bit more of a throwback vibe. And we're doing a restring and a setup. Let's get to work. Pretty nice looking little telly. Squire is stepping up their game a little bit on some of their product. I mean, it's really well put together. I don't know what I'm going to find, but we're going to find out together. We're putting 8s on it, so I'm not even going to measure what's on there. I know I'm going to have to adjust. And we're taking these saddles out and we're putting in these brass saddles. Let's see. And we're just Ernie Ball 8s on it. He likes 8s. It's a little light, I think, but that's all right. Let's get the strings off. And then we're going to take these out. So there's no sense in measuring it now. We're going to change parts. We're going to change to a different gauge string because there's probably 9s on it. And we're putting 8s. It shouldn't take too long. Right. Just going through the body. Strings. Kind of screams 50s telly to me. A modern version. Of course, all the ferrules came out. That's typical, so there's a little bit of an issue. Ferrules that are going in the back of the body. I'm going to put just a little dollop of super glue on them. They don't need to come out. They shouldn't. They should press in. I think that one just popped out too. Every one of them popped out. Nice. Every one of them. So before we do anything else, I'm going to put a little dollop of stupid glue on it and put them back in there so that they hold and they don't give me a heartache when it's time to restring it. And when I say a little dollop, I mean a little tiny dollop of super glue. They don't need hardly any. Just a bit. And if it holds, it holds. If it doesn't, then you'll have to get some better ones. You follow? I mean, they're really loose in there. The only thing that holds them in is the string, but they should pretty much stay in the body. They should, but sometimes they don't. I had an old jazz bass, one of my oldest guitars. In fact, I think it is my oldest bass. And the ferrules would never stay in there, and I finally got sick and tired of chasing them around, and I put Elmer's glue on it. That was before I knew what I was doing, I guess. I'm going to pause and let this set up briefly before I turn the guitar back over, and we'll be back momentarily. Okie dokie, so we're going to take these out. That's a pretty simple process. You want to kind of sort of remember sort of where they're at, because usually factory intonation is pretty close. And I just want to make certain there is a way that these have to go, and they kindly send you a little picture. I'm going to say that one needs to come back just to the top of that screw. And it's pretty straightforward, these, and most saddles are pretty much the same. It's just there's a million threads. I don't know that there's anything wrong with these, but I think he's going for that throwback vibe, and that's why he wanted the brass ones. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. There's one. So the screw goes through, the spring goes on the screw. Hopefully there's enough sticking out to grab it. I believe we want to be in. What did we do here? Wants to be in this orientation. All right. Get on with it. You know what I'm saying? It's always the spring that gives you a heartache. And for crimini's sake, make sure that the screw, the bolt, whatever you want to call it, is starting cleanly. That's brass, and if you gull those threads, you're going to be in trouble. Now, the intonation will not be exactly perfect because the takeoff point is different on both sides of these. In fact, we may run into an issue with intonation. We won't know until we get it completely set up. And in fact, I think these are going to want to be a little farther ahead. And I'm going to guess at it just for shits and giggles. Yep, that's about where I'm going to be. Oh, yeah, that's just a standard. It's 25 and 3/8, 25 and a half, give or take, from the takeoff point where it hits the nut and where the takeoff point where the string goes over the saddle. That's a good starting point. You're not going to get hurt, but you probably are going to have to adjust it. That's what we're here for. So I'm going to pause while I put the other two on. There's no sense in burning up all this video time because I do want to do a restring and a full setup on this video. So please stand by. It will only take a second for you. Okay, so saddles are in, and we're going to go on to restring. Hopefully our ferrules are stuck in there. I think they are. They seem to be. So he was actually going to put a new bridge, new pickups, upgrade everything on this guitar, but he decided to hold off on that. And I believe rightfully so, until he plays the instrument for a while. He may dig on it just the way it is. But it may be coming back at a later date for pickup and bridge upgrades. We'll see. If it does, I might make another video of it just because we did this one. And I wouldn't disagree with him because the electronics in these Squires is suspect sometimes. You know, they're relatively inexpensive instruments, but they're well made lately. Like I said, the build quality is pretty good on them. But where they save money and cost is in the electronics, of course, and you know, other gear that's on the guitar. And yeah, that's going to affect how it sounds 100%. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there, if the customer is so inclined. You follow? These are really super easy to restring. I like them. You push it down and wrap it around. So my technique is quite simply, it's going to live right here in this machine head. 1, 2, 3. And that should be enough to get your, how many wraps you want. At least you're going to have one above and at least 1.5 to 2 underneath this, the first wrap. Got 3. And I don't mind 3 because it gives me a good break angle. More than that's probably overkill. It's probably overkill. But you need that break angle because there's no string tree here. That as the string winds around the peg, it's going to get pushed farther down and gives you that break angle over the nut. Just tuning up to tension right now. I'm not checking tuning yet. We'll do that after we get them all on. 1, 2, 3. Bottom it out, bend it down, go around clockwise, and start turning. I usually over-tension them slightly when I'm putting them on. It kind of pre-stretches them, but don't go crazy. If you're not sure, it's best to be a little under-tensioned than over-tensioned. You can break a string. Especially with these small gauge, light gauge. Be careful. String tree. Two, 3. You got to kind of guesstimate when you get to the end because there isn't another peg. Kind of digging the way those brass saddles look on there. I gotta say they're sharper looking. I like everything old. I'm a throwback kind of guy. Child of the 70s. Beautiful. So I'm going to just pre-tune it, and then we're going to pause briefly. I'm going to kind of stretch them a little bit, pre-tune it. Boy, I'm getting good. And then I'm going to let it settle just for a few minutes. When we come back, then we'll start adjusting the neck and finish the setup on it. So you get them up to pitch, hold at the first fret, and just a gentle tug on each string. Put your thumb right there and a gentle tug. That helps to do 2 things. It pre-stretches the string, which will make it more stable, and it seats it sometimes in the saddle, but this one they're going to have to make their own. They're brand new saddles. And it also helps to seat them in the nut. Tune it back up to pitch. They should have all gone flat, which they did. Now I'm going to pause briefly. I'm going to let this sit for 10 or 15 minutes while I work on something else. But when I come back, we're going to be right on this. And we're going to then start checking neck relief and, doing the string height, pickup height, intonation. Basically, we're going to do the setup. So stand by. All right, so very quickly we tuned it up and let it settle for a little while, and it's pretty much stable. Yeah, it's sounding good too. So now we got to start looking at setup on this thing because, as I said, it is a brand new guitar, and that's the main purpose of today's exercise. Believe it or not, that is perfect. That is perfect. I'm going to run with that. That is 12 thousandths at the 7th fret. Let us see. Now I know the string height's going to be kerplooey because we just put in new saddles. And I'm going to check that now. Probably going to be high. Yeah. High, low, very low, very low, high. Okay, so what we're going to do is guesstimate where we need to be first, and then I'm going to assume that these are metric. Is it? Nope, yeah, it is metric. You never know with Squire. Sometimes it's standard, sometimes it's metric. I know that the E is way high and the A was low. Let's start with those two. I want to get these close before I get into intonation. We got to bring the A up and the E down. And because they share a saddle, one can throw the other off, and that's where it gets a little tricky. Right. And then when you get it where you like it, get it back up to pitch and get the right tension on it, because that will change it as well. Oh, I think the UPS guy is here. Stand by. Figures. UPS guy comes just when I'm in the middle of something. All right, I think we're going to be good there. Once you get them back up to pitch, check it again. Right now, all we're doing is string height. And I'm going to set it at, well, what I like is 5/64. So it can go a little bit lower, but we're going to start there. Well, already I'm wondering about that's better. You got to be cognizant of string spacing. While there isn't a divot in these yet, they will make their own divot eventually. And you want them to, as close as possible, to be right over the pole pieces, which they are, and I like that. Now, we can do our intonation on that one. It's a little sharp. Slightly sharp on both. Actually, more sharp on the A. So we have to pull the saddle back. Sharp means that the distance between our takeoff point here and here is too short. That means we have to lengthen it. Make sure you're tuned to pitch. Open. Harmonic. And then dead on. A is still a little bit sharp, but that's why it's critical that you're tuned to pitch open. I'm looking at my tuner right here. They're still a little sharp. Loosen the strings because I got to pull that saddle back. Remember, you're setting the intonation on the E and the A at the same time because that's the way these saddles are. You want old school? That's what you get. It'll never be dead on perfect, but you got to get it as close as you can. Much better. Yep, I can live with that. So I'm going to pause while I do the others because it is time consuming, especially when we put new ones in. Usually from the factory, manufacturers get this part right, but because we change the saddles, I have to get it right now. So stand by. All right, so intonation is set. The next item on the Price is Right is string action. Let's get our height set. I like that. I like that. Okay, D is too low. Well, that explains why it was buzzing. That explains why it was buzzing. Come on, you. Get up there. Perfect. And G, of course, same thing. I'm aiming for 5/64 all the way across the radius of the board. And yeah, it's not written in stone. You can have your action lower if you want. We talk about it all the time. But it's also what the instrument will bear. And I just feel like Fenders, that's where I set all my guitars. Everybody wants their action low. Oh, I like my action low. All right, well, that's all well and good, but if your instrument isn't going to bear it, then what's the point? And after you make adjustments on string height, you have to go back and tune it up to pitch. Make sure it's at tension and recheck it. recheck and recheck again. So, low E, perfect. A, perfect. A little too high on the D. Perfect. Perfecto. Too low on the B. B as in boy. Perfect. Perfect. And that's it. This is the last time we have to tune it up to pitch. And basically, this girl is ready to play. That's it. That is it, my friends. That guitar is ready to rock. I think it's going to sound good too. Right? Now remember, our strings are still stretching. By tomorrow, they'll be settled in. I have a heavy hand. I'm a bass player, as I say all the time. Not a guitar player. Don't profess to be. I know a few cowboy chords, and that's about it, but that thing sounds nice. So my heavy hand on these 8s are extra light strings, and yeah, we got to get this to the customer and let him do his thing with it. But intonation is set, string height is set. We put in new saddles. The only thing I didn't check I like that. The G and the B might be slightly too tall, but it's not buzzing at the first fret and it's really, really close. I'm going to leave it. 9 times out of 10 on these more entry-level price point guitars, you're going to find out these are too low. And if they're too low, then you either have to replace the nut or fill the nut slot, and I don't want to do that. It's playing fine where it is. This one's ready to go. Got another one in the books. It's Blackjack with 396 guitars. Thank you all so much once again for your likes, your shares, and your views. If you have something to say, give me a comment. I try to read them all. I will try to respond. If you have questions, please ask. We're here to help. We'll talk soon.